Hello, good morning. It is Morning Coffee with Steve, episode 232 for Friday, December 6, 2024. 1 week till my birthday. Exactly. I'm Steve Saylor. This is your daily gaming news show, or daily news show of gaming news, accessibility news, or updates about my life. I should just try not to insert any new thoughts as I'm trying to get through my intro. I have another caramel latte from McDonald's this morning, because I really liked it yesterday and it tastes just as good this morning. This is great. Oh, I'm loving this. That actually is honestly kind of almost a better Christmas flavor to me right now than the peppermint mocha was the other day. I love me a peppermint mocha, but this is kind of hitting the spot, which is great. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. A little bit of housekeeping. If you have not seen it, you can go and check out my accessibility review / kind of personal anecdote experience of me playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. That is available on my YouTube channel. If you haven't checked it out, it was posted late, like last night. Normally, I try to post episodes or videos like early in the morning so that you get as much people watching as possible. But the embargo for Indiana Jones was 7 p.m. Eastern last night. So that's why I posted it then, but I'll leave a link into the show notes so you can be able to check it out. Actually, we'll be talking about Indiana Jones in the news today, so we'll be covering that a little bit. But I wanted to, before we get into the news, I wanted to give some thoughts that I've been kind of really like thinking about this morning. And this is not any particular incident. It was just something that's been on my mind a little bit lately. And I'm seeing a lot of toxicity and a lot of negative comments towards developers in the industry. And I've seen it in the accessibility community, but I've also seen it just in general. And most often a lot of that negative and toxic sort of feedback is based on what they think game development is like. And sometimes it's a little bit of armchair game dev. I posted a thing on Blue Sky that right now I didn't think that actually was going to be getting like really as much attention as it has. But it's like I posted it about not even 15-20 minutes ago, and it's probably like it's right now it's been blowing up a little bit more than my post normally would on Blue Sky. But I tweeted or posted this on please treat game developers with respect. You have no idea of what they are advocating for you have no idea what they are advocating for you on your behalf, and by being toxic or negative and forcing them to make changes and playing armchair game dev, you're inevitably pushing your biggest champions out of the room. There is nothing wrong about giving feedback if it's constructive, or there's nothing wrong about giving feedback if it's constructive, because that piece of feedback can be the perfect bit of ammo they need to convince someone that they should do the thing that they are on your side for and want the same thing, and they need outside feedback to do it. And I've been getting kind of a myriad of comments, and it's kind of ranging, unfortunately, from all over the place, from yes, people agreeing, and then but then people are saying like, respect is earned, or just basically they're saying, well, it's corporate greed that's ruining game development, and I'm not talking about things about that. I'm talking about the developers themselves, the ones that are like in the trenches day in day out, just trying to be able to make a great game, and they're not in, like, developers are not in a vacuum. They look, as much as some of them like try to be able to avoid social media at times, and I've heard a lot of developers basically just avoid social media altogether because of just just the toxicity that's usually thrown towards them. But for those that like they still know what's happening. They still know what's being talked about publicly, and they know what they're also gamers themselves. They're the ones who got in this industry because they love playing games, and they love playing the same games that you do. So that so they want to be able to make games that they and you can love. Sure, yes, there is a lot of like corporate BS that's all over the place, and some like creative decisions or sometimes are just from higher ups that just are beyond their control. But I'm talking about like just developers who are just like not necessarily just doing their job, but like trying to be able to create a game that they love working on, and you wonder why a lot of again, kind of going back to, you wonder why a lot of developers just aren't public or aren't talking about stuff that's happening like with the industry. Sure, yeah, they can't talk about stuff publicly because of NDAs and it's like they have to they want to do what myriad of reasons as to why they need to be like they can't talk about what they're working on. But they are also advocating on your behalf. If they have an idea for something that it was based off of something that someone in the community liked or wanted to do more or wanted to see more of or wanted to see in the game, you have no idea how much of an like if it's constructive feedback, how much that can be used to help make that thing happen. Case in point with accessibility, okay? Uncharted 4, when that was being worked on, there was an accessibility advocate who was trying to play Uncharted 3, couldn't play it because of a lack of accessibility for him, and he reached out to one of the developers and said, "Hey, I'd love to be able to play this, but like I can't because of this." And because of that developer saw that and was like, "Oh, we should look into that." Brought this person in, and that's what helped sort of lead the what was essentially the accessibility in Uncharted 4, and one of the first accessibility menus in the industry with Uncharted 4. But that's what led to growing that advocacy and that building those champions within a team. That is what led to The Last of Us Part 2. You have no idea how much a tiny little bit of feedback, constructive feedback, and treating people with respect can have such a huge impact and such a ripple effect within the industry in great ways. So I'm all for directing feedback to developers. I'm all for, hey, this wasn't really super great. It would have been great if it was this, and not trying to assume that things are like it's just easy, just add this and it'll fix it. But just saying, hey, it would have been great if this was there. Treating people with kindness and respect, as we should. You know, remember the golden rule, the thing that we were supposed to do, like we were taught as kids. Treat your neighbors how you want to be treated. It goes in the same way. They're trying to make games for you. They're trying to make games that you can enjoy. Now, there's a myriad of reasons as to why sometimes games just don't work. And that's fine. That's fair. That's with every art medium. Not every, gaming is as much objective as it is subjective. But I'm just seeing a lot of toxic negativity towards just developers. Like, you know, send your ire to executives. Send your ire to basically just to higher ups that essentially that I mean, like, I'm not saying like be constructive. Like, I'm not saying like send your toxicity. I don't want to send any toxicity anywhere. But if you want to be mad about something, be mad about that. Like those who are treating the developers unfairly, because they're the ones that are making these. Because they're the ones that either have any control or just are just trying to make a good game. No one sets out to make a bad game. Bad decisions can make a bad game, but no one is out there to basically to be like, we're going to make this so bad, but we're going to convince people to buy it anyway. I have not met one person in the industry that's like that. And if they are out there, they're probably like, you know, they're probably already driven out of the industry because they're probably like jumped into like the NFT crypto sort of scam that was trying to infiltrate into the gaming community, or the gaming industry. So I just want to say, long story short, and I don't care if you think that respect is earned. I don't care if you think like if I don't know. If you listen to me, if you believe me, or if you just even think indifferent of me, all I ask out of everything is just be nice. It doesn't kill you to be nice. Being nice is free. So is being toxic. But I feel like you have to go through a lot just to be able to like to just, I don't know. It doesn't kill you to be nice. And I'm not talking about being like putting on a face and just pretending to be nice. I'm talking about it doesn't as it's just they're trying their best. And again, you have no idea how much they're advocating for you behind the scenes. And they are trying to be able to convince the same people that you think that are ruining the industry. They're trying to convince those people too from the inside, behind the scenes, behind those closed doors that you can't get into. They're trying to advocate for you on your behalf. And by being toxic and negative towards them and pushing them away, you're forcing them to rethink of what they want to do with it, like basically leaving the industry or leaving just like game dev altogether. You're forcing your biggest champions out of the room. And if you think gaming has gotten worse, it's because of stuff like that. You've been bullying people out, like your biggest champions, outside the room. And if they don't have, if that's the case, then you don't have a voice anymore within those studios. And then yeah, you're going to get those kind of like those games that you've been saying was going to ruin the industry. Again, if you don't listen to anything I say, if you think that I'm just completely bonkers, insane for even mentioning it, just treat developers with respect. Treat developers be nice. Just be nice for a change. Anyway, that's my little rant for the day. Let us jump into the news because I wanted to start off with the review roundup for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I have Metacritic up, and it is currently sitting at an 86 based on 45 critic reviews. Generally favorable. It is currently sitting at 87 on PC and 86 on Xbox Series X and S. Let's take a look at some of the reviews, shall we? Trying to find some of the regular players in here. Let's see all 45 critic reviews. Yes, let's do that. Let's see. Inverse gives it a 90. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is tremendous. It is a worthy new chapter in the chronicles of film's greatest archaeologists and one of the year's best video games. That's awesome. Let's see. Windows Central gives it a 90. From the manner in which every line is delivered and scene is shot to the smirker on Indy's face when solving a puzzle, it's clear that everyone at Machine Games just get what makes Indiana Jones so special. Let's see. What else we got? Just kind of scrolling through all of these. Because I know that... Am I looking at the right ones? Just want to make sure. See if PC, if that might. Oh, VGC, here we go. VGC, our favorite, one of our favorite sites that we like to go to for news, was they give it 100%, a 10 out of 10. We had a smile on our face from beginning to end while playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. As close as games can come to a genuine old-fashioned Hollywood blockbuster, it's also an incredibly rich adventure game stuffed to the gills with secrets to find. Eurogamer gives it 100. Smart, fun, and so very Indiana Jones. The Great Circle is a stealth action tour de force that marks a bold new era for Machine Games. Let's see. Trying to find, here we go. GameSpot. Machine Games has successfully designed a game around its protagonist. Its mix of improvisational stealth and combat feels distinct, but adopting a fast and loose style that echoes indie's scrappy persistence. It might not be quite as accomplished in all areas as the studio's Wolfenstein games, but Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is still a frequent delight. And then, let's see. IGN gives it a 90. An irresistible and immersive global treasure hunt, and far and away the best indie story this century. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle doesn't belong in a museum. It belongs on your hard drive where you can play the heck out of it. I love that little pun in there. That's great. It was also PC Gamer gives it an 86. Like if an immersive sim got caught in a teleporter accident with Uncharted, some aspects of the Great Circle are weaker than others, but it joins Batman Arkham and GoldenEye in the god tier of licensed games. That's saying something. Wow. I want to bring up But Why though, because they also have CG Magazine, one of our favorite little magazines here in Canada. 70, they give this 70, not little, they're pretty awesome. 75, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle makes a strong attempt to bring indie back to gaming with a great narrative and exceptional puzzles, but its minute-to-minute gameplay suffers from frequent perspective changes and clunky combat, which is fair. There definitely are some of that aspects. Because I did see that there was basically, here we go. But why though is what I wanted to look at. So they give it an 80. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle does what this franchise has always done best. It takes the theft of a seamlessly unimportant artifact and thrusts India to a cataclysmic mystery, ensuring that charismatic man shines. Punch Nazis, celebrate history, explore the world, and then save it. What more could you ask for? I love this. Like I said, you can check out my review on my YouTube channel. Link will be in the description or the show notes. But I am still loving this game. I played it a little bit again last night after watching some of the reviews, and I still had fun. I'm not finished the game as of yet, but I've played about like 15 hours, I think, in between 11 and 15. I can't remember what my actual play time is at this point, but I loved it. It, like, as I said in I titled my review, it was like I really truly did feel like a kid again. As if I was watching Indiana Jones for the first time. It truly was a spectacular game. I didn't think I was going to fully enjoy. I was kind of skeptical. A lot of other people, it's like, what is this game going to be like? Is it a puzzle game? Is it a first-person shooter? Is it a action adventure? Do we even need this kind of game with Uncharted and Tomb Raider? I said that even in the review, and I will say it's different than what you think. It's going to be. Yes, it is all those things, but it's also not all those things at the same time. Like, for instance, the first-person shooter, it's less a shooter and more of a first-person adventure game. Because yes, there are guns, and yes, you can shoot guns, but I've barely used a gun the entire time because there's just so many like melee weapons to be able to knock people out, and I'm mostly just punching people out and it's great. I absolutely love it. I don't necessarily need it, because here's the thing: they encourage you to not use a gun, and to a certain degree, because if you use one, then that creates noise that can attract other enemies, and you're now having to be able to fight them all. So they kind of, it's a very sometimes the AI is a little dumb, which is fine. Like, I don't think that they were kind of going for ultimate realism here. They're trying to be able to give players a blockbuster, like, fun moment, like they show in the trailers. Basically, it's like you get to punch Nazis. Like, that's pretty dang cool. So yes, it's less of a first-person shooter, but yes, from a first-person perspective. Is it like kind of an Uncharted? No, not really, because essentially Uncharted, you're kind of like, you go through set piece after set piece of just shooting bad guys and killing them, whereas this is just, you're mostly knocking them out. And it like, whereas Uncharted is very linear, this is a little bit more open world-ish. It's like, it's more of an open sandbox to a certain degree in some area, like in kind of the different areas that you're in. And then also people are wondering if this is more of a puzzle game than anything. There are puzzles throughout the entire game, but they're not really like super challenging puzzles. They are it's enough to kind of give your brain kind of give that part of your brain an itch. or scratch that part of your brain. That's the word. That's the phrase I was going for. But to scratch that itch, but it's nothing really like super like, oh, I have no idea how to be able to solve this puzzle, because it's usually like and that's the thing. It's like they're not evolving around major puzzle set pieces. It's usually a bunch of small to medium sized puzzles, so that you like that you should be able to figure out generally within a few minutes. And if you truly are stuck, that there is going to be like you can technically drop the difficulty, and that can also help out with that as well. But I think that it's honestly, it's kind of it's just it's more Dishonored than Uncharted, if that makes sense. And in a way, I haven't really seen anyone say this, but as immersive as Half-Life 2 was, and how revolutionary that was to the first-person genre, in that you are more interacting with the world than necessarily just going through and shooting at it through the world. This game is very much kind of like that. There is a lot of immersion. You truly do feel like you're Indiana Jones, that you just discovered this hidden entrance to this one temple that has been sealed for centuries, and you are the first person to be able to go in and find these secret treasures that's only been lost to time. Like you truly do feel that, and you feel like you are Indiana Jones. And again, I know a lot of people have been saying, like, praising Troy Baker for his performance, and rightfully so. There are times I forget that it's Troy Baker, and it's not Indiana Jones. It's not Harrison Ford, and he's not really. I mean, yes, he's doing an amazing Harrison Ford impression, and there are definitely, but I think he kind of makes it his own, because it's not like it's not meant to be like he's like, whenever you think Harrison Ford impression, you think kind of more of the stereotypical or the surface level versions of his impression. It's the hand finger, it's the grumble, or it's the super expressive shouting. Like you think that is as sort of as in Harrison Ford, but what Troy Baker does is that, yes, he's not impersonating necessarily Harrison Ford. He's impersonating Indiana Jones back in the 80s when these movies were coming out, like a 40-year-old basically Harrison Ford, and that's kind of hard to do. And I got to give props to Troy Baker for that, because he absolutely nailed it. And I got lost. I thought I was playing. Like, yeah, I didn't feel like it took a little bit to kind of get into it, but then again, I was playing it last night, and there was just so many moments of just like, wow, that I could have, like, if I didn't know it was Troy Baker, I could have swore that was Harrison Ford himself. And they just sort of deep faked him to make him sound younger. Like it was just like that. So also in regards to the accessibility of Indiana Jones, along with my review, if you haven't checked it out, I would definitely recommend also checking out this article that I'll link in the show notes. There is an accessibility guide that Bethesda has published, listing all of the accessibility that is in the game. I'll read a little bit of it. It's a huge article, so I won't go into all the details, but I will just read a tiny bit of at least the beginning of it for sure. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is designed to be an approachable and accessible game, so that as many people as possible can experience the adventure as Indiana Jones. This guide outlines accessibility and other gameplay customization features and options. Please see the bottom of this guide for information on how to submit feedback for future game updates. There's an accessibility menu that has there's some UI visibility with increased UI font size, color preset, and UI safe zone. You can adjust the field of view of the camera, motion blur, and screen shake. Also, you can be able to adjust it to I didn't mention the review because I mostly played this in full screen, but you can be able to play this in cinematic mode, similar to how Star Wars Outlaws does it, which is, I think, is kind of a neat touch that I think that Lucasfilm has been has done, because obviously with Star Wars and Indiana Jones, Lucasfilm Games, what they've done is they added that sort of cinematic experience. I actually tried. I played this full screen just so I can be able to see all the UI and everything, but I tried the cinematic mode where it goes basically, it adds black bars to the top and bottom of the screen, and I tried that for the first time last night, and I was like, oh shoot, I feel like I'm watching an Indiana Jones movie right now. Like it felt so cool and so much fun. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Subtitles, they've got options to be able to enable or disable them during gameplay and cinematics. You can there's closed captions for important sound effects. Subtitle font size, speaker name, subtitle background. There is a color filter, which I do call out is not necessarily the best way to be able to do colorblind accessibility, but it is there, and hopefully that can be able to help you out. There's a high contrast mode, which I've talked about in the review, but it's very, very good. There's so many different options that are there that actually kind of adds a lot more to the high contrast modes that we've seen in the past. Like they have the capability of, you can have a color tint or a color outline around characters, and you can choose either or. You can also adjust the color or the have a color or outline of all the interactable things you can pick up and use throughout the entire game, and you can be able to choose which colors are signify which is really great. So I like, honestly, it's one of the best high contrast modes that I've seen. I think probably the thing that I would suggest is if you're using the color tint option for high contrast mode, lower the opacity or the intensity down to 30%, so that way you can still see the characters like faces and kind of character models, so that you can be able to like, it feels like you're interacting with them instead of just sort of like this amorphous like color tint blob. So 30% was kind of like the nice sort of sweet spot for me. You can be able to adjust controls, your kind of usual stuff like look sensitivity and invert controls, as well as aim sensitivity. You can adjust the color controller vibration. There's a bit of an aim assistance, which I kind of sort of noticed. I don't know, I've seen this a lot in games lately, the aim assist and aim assist strength, and I think it's great, but I don't know, maybe I'm just the one I just don't notice it. I think I'm just more used to like the magnetic sort of like snap to target instead of necessarily aim assist. But I will say this again, actually, you know what, even for the gun, I think the gun probably is like the one that feels okay on that as far as aim assist. But if you're thinking it's going to be snap to target or lock on to target, it doesn't really do that as much. You can be able to adjust controls toggles for sprint, aim firearm, aim photo camera, raise lighter, prime throw, boat forward, reverse, whip, free climb. You can either set those to toggles or to holds, which is awesome. You can adjust the dead zones. There's stuff for mouse and keyboard. There's a HUD gameplay menu settings. Oh, there's an auto parry. I didn't even actually look into that. Oh, that's probably for the difficulty stuff. Yeah, actually, I should probably look into that, because the auto parry is definitely one that I mess up on, or the parry system essentially. You can change the HUD settings from tutorials to item highlight outlines. You can adjust the base of the brightness of those from 0 to 100. Incoming damage indicators. That's great for those who are deaf or hard of hearing. I think that's pretty much, yeah, I'll mention it. There's, what I like here is that they list here the additional gameplay accessibility beyond the menus. You can do pausing. You can pause the game at any given time, even during cutscenes. You can first launch. There's a menu that pops up that you can be able to adjust some settings right away before you jump into the game. There are some multiple save slots. There's a journal that can be used in either lowered or raised position. In a lowered position, you can view your map and objective marker while navigating. A setting is available to always show the objective marker. So you can. So I personally did not have the objective marker set to on all the time. I kind of like the idea of pulling up your journal and then that objective marker sort of pops up. It felt more immersive to me. It's not to say that I definitely could use it. It's definitely an option that's there. I just felt like for me, the more immersive experience is to bring up your journal with the map, and you can kind of see everything that's there. I kind of like that a little bit. You can revisit locations from the chapter section of the journal. There's let's see. Camera hints. When faced with challenging puzzles, the camera can sometimes be used to get hints how to proceed. Like it's talked about, that'll help you if you're stuck on a puzzle. There'll be a point of interest near the puzzles that have camera hints. After completing a step in the puzzle, you can capture another camera hint to get an additional clue about the next step. The last camera hint you can capture is the complete solution to the puzzle. And then they have this: known barriers and future game updates. Screen readers. The game currently does not support screen readers for menu or UI narration. Players without sight may need sight assistance interacting with the menus and gameplay. We are working on implementing a screen reader for narration that is planned to be included in a future update, which is something that I did not know when I was reviewing this. I did not know that was going to be possible. Basically, I did not know that that was being worked on before I did my review, so that's why I didn't mention it in there. But that is great to be able to hear. That I think that's That's awesome. I think that just overall in regards to my like kind of my own experience with accessibility, it's not great. I will admit it's not perfect in any way. It's not really sort of kind of like pushing the it's pushing the envelope in some areas for accessibility. But what I've noticed more of this year is we are seeing studios that hadn't previously done accessibility before. They're starting their journey now. And it's taken a while for them to be able to get to this point, but it's a great starting point. Machine Games done that with Indiana Jones. We've seen that with BioWare, with Dragon Age. What else have we seen that with this year? Silent Hill, from Konami, or sorry, Capcom, I should say. They've been pushing a lot more for accessibility. Bloober Team as well. They've been pushing more for accessibility because with the Medium, they had some accessibility there, but they get pushed even further with Silent Hill 2, the remake. There's just been quite a few games that have been coming out lately that this is their first attempt at accessibility, and they should be applauded. Yes, it's not perfect, or not fully accessible in every area, but you got to start somewhere. Like, I can guarantee that then Machine Games' next project they're going to take a lot of these learnings to heart and be like, this is what we can do next. And by receiving great and constructive feedback from players who can play the game or can try to play the game and be like, it would be better if we could have this and this, giving that information and sending that feedback, which they do have in this article. Again, I'll link it to in the show notes. That you can submit that feedback. They can use that for future games, so that way, or future updates, so that way they can either make Indiana Jones better for you, or whatever their next game, which could potentially be another Indiana Jones game, but just given how successful this game is so far, has been well reviewed, they could potentially make that next game even more accessible. And that's great. We need more studios being able to keep growing their accessibility offerings, and we're seeing a lot more studios do that lately, and I'm applauding them for doing that. So anyway, if you're gonna try it out, it's on Game Pass right now. If you don't have Game Pass, you can be able to purchase it. It's on Xbox and PC. It will be coming out to PS5 supposedly early next year. So if you want to be able to play this on PlayStation instead, you can expect that to be able to play that relatively soon. They don't have a exact release date, but they said, I think, spring 2025. So you should hopefully that's within the next couple months anyway. All right, actually, I think that's kind of where I'm going to lead it today. Yeah, it's like 30 minutes. It's an all Indiana Jones episode with a little bit of like rant in the beginning. So anyway, that's going to be it for me. That is also going to be it for me this week. I thank you so much for listening / watching. I will be back again next week for Monday and Tuesday specifically. But I won't be available from Wednesday forward because I will be in LA for the Game Awards. So if you're going to be watching the Game Awards, if you see me, great. Let me know. I don't know if I'm going to be on camera. I never know, but usually I'm close enough that sometimes a camera picks me up. That's kind of thing. So you might see me. If not, if you're going to the Game Awards, please let me know. I'll be able to say hi. And that's it. Take care. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And I will see you all on Monday. Bye-bye.